What is up, plant community? Let me just start out that if you like my videos, go ahead, give me a like, share, subscribe, and thumbs up. It helps me out, and it helps the videos out, and it helps me teach people things about plants that they might not know about, or if they do, well, that's fine too. So, it's time to do a video on my Norfolk Island pine bonsai forest, which is supposed to be a Jurassic styled forest. So it's grown quite a bit and it's continuing to grow, and it's growing quite a bit out of proportion. So it is time to trim it back. And whenever you trim these trees, you usually trim them back in a triangular shape or conical shape. That's how they naturally grow in the wild. Now, I did originally do some landscaping down here. Some of the moss took, some of it's struggling more than others, but I think it will get there with time. Now, with that being said, I have these down here, which are supposed to be like shrubs, but I'm trying to form them into trees. You can see some of them are getting a bit of bark on them, and they are supposed to be like my ginkgos in a prehistoric Jurassic-like forest, because these trees were around ever since the Jurassic time frame. So I need to trim them back into scale, and I just kind of let them grow a bit to get some vigor down here, let that kind of thicken up the trunks. But now it's time to cut them back a bit, and that's what I'm gonna do. So this here is my main tree. This is my secondary tree that's in the background, and this here over here is supposed to be my smallest tree. Now you can see what the normal branches of these trees look like, which has gotten out of control proportionately. So it's time to trim them back, really trim them back. Now the problem is when you trim them back, it's hard to get in between the needles, but that's all right. That's just how it is. Now, sometimes they'll get brown on the needles, and those will just have to be trimmed back. Now, another way you could trim these is just by simply pinching the buds like you would a normal pine tree, because it is just a conifer after all, but I don't know. It's really up to you. And then we got one where it's just budding really weirdly for some reason. Anyways, either way, it's time to trim them back. So, I'll start with the main tree here. We'll pinch it, trying to get in between the needles. And we'll pinch it just like that. I love the smell of these conifers. Very nice smelling trees. So there, we just pinch that bud back. And now we'll trim it down into the conical shape. Now, of course, you guys won't get to see all that conical shaping because, well, it's kind of really grown, and there's still some new buds growing here, which, sorry about that, somebody went by on a moped, and so, anyways, yeah, there's still some new growth on some of the old branches I pruned back, so you guys really won't get to see that, because that's something I'll just have to keep on the lookout for and maintain. But I always let it do that so that way it can stay in good health. Alright, so now we have this branch here. So we'll trim it to right there. And that's off. Now, I heard you can take cuttings of these. I've never been successful with the cuttings, but just an idea if you maybe want to grow more Norfolk Island pines. I'm fine with the three. The three alone is just hard to keep in line sometimes, so I'm usually fine with just the three. So we'll get right here. And what we'll do is we'll keep going with that. I might try to root two cuttings. I might try to. Keyword. Alright, so yeah, now we'll just keep going down with a wider and wider conical shape, or kind of pyramidish shape to the tree. Because we don't need this growing over that, because all that does is shade out the tree in the end of the day. So, kind of rotate this here. So we have that branch starting to grow into that branch. Loud motorcycle. Sometimes it sucks living next by the road because lots of noises one way or another. So, anyways, as I was saying, so we have this, so we'll kind of go out an inch farther than that. Maybe out to here. Yeah, we'll go out to here with it. Trim that back like that. Where did that branch even fall to? Right there it is. We'll take this. We'll just pinch them back. We'll leave that alone to grow. Of course, we got this. Go right here with it. Maybe. There we go. Takes that completely off. Let that one grow a little bit more. Because at the end of the day, I might need to eventually make the forest, the land of it, a bit bigger anyways. Then we have this here. Cut that back to right there. Okay. I'm kind of on a swing, so this ain't the easiest tree to trim today. And then, of course, we got these here. We'll just kind of trim this one back to here, allowing for budding in the future. We'll pinch him back. We got this one here. We'll pinch him back. We got this guy right there. We'll chop him to right there. And that's pretty much got him. Oh, oh, we forgot one. No, it's not. We'll trim him right there. You can see right here where some of the old dead needles are. Then should I? Now we'll let that one gain some strength. So that pretty much has this tree right here trimmed up, and that should thicken up the trunk. This will be its summer prune for the year for this particular tree. Alright, now we gotta go Really thought it was going to fall for a minute. Not the best balanced table, I must admit. It is just a trash can that I use for back here in the garden. Okay, I'll be right back in a minute. Alright, sorry about that. Was having trouble with some balancing there. So that was kind of a no-go. And then here we'll do the same thing. We'll just kind of pinch him off right there. Takes that completely off. And that fell completely in front of the pot. But, of course, I'll get all the foliage and I'll show you what we did after everything is said and done. Alright. Trim him to right there. Takes him off. Trim him to right here. Now the thing is even though I really, really like bonsai, I try not to get too many trees. Reason for that being is because if you get way too many trees, you can't really spend your time taking care of them. And your landscape will get out of control. And see, I don't have issues with my landscape getting out of control. I have issues with my landscape not taking with the moss. That's my issues. But yeah, I love bonsai as a hobby, but at the end of the day, sometimes it's good not to have too many of these trees because you get too many, then you find that all of a sudden it's no longer fun, it's kind of harder to care for. And if you're gonna do something, make sure you do it because you do generally enjoy it, not because it's just something you can make money on or something like that. I generally enjoy this hobby. To me, it is fun. One of the best things I've discovered in the plant community. But I generally have a small little bonsai area, but man, is it addicting. Sometimes you just find yourself like, oh, well, I don't have that tree. Maybe I could get the seeds off of that and bonsai it. And it's like, oh man, now I'm getting more and more trees. And what's sad is when you're like me, you don't just take care of bonsais, you got more than just that. And sometimes it can be a bit of a hassle, but I like it. It is my favorite hassle. Oh, missed. Don't know how you can miss that, but somehow Jared did. Just like this branch here. I completely missed that. I can already tell you I'm probably gonna have to wind up getting a bigger landscape for these trees because a bigger pot because they're getting taller. Not only are they getting taller, but the ginkgos, they're not really ginkgos, they're just similar to it, so I kind of use them in here as ginkgos. They're getting quite tall with the trees and need trimmed back, and I could keep the forest small if I wanted to, but I don't know. We'll see in the future. And that's got that tree trimmed up very nicely. Now we have my last tree, which is supposed to be the smallest tree within the bonsai forest, or Norfolk Island pine forest. I got offered some more pines. These ain't pines; these are conifers, but actual pine trees over at a friend's. I still have yet to pick those up. They're not a native species. They are an invasive species, and I ain't gonna lie, I like taking invasive species out from the wild and making them into bonsais. And the main reason why I like doing that is because they're not native and they don't really serve a function for our wildlife. So I just kind of keep them within the within bonsais or within the garden areas whenever I do have plants that could potentially be invasive. So we'll pinch him. Now, of course, we gotta do the conical shaping. That one's weird, so must have been where I trimmed it once before. That's another great thing about these trees is they're great if you want to really learn how to bonsai pine trees because they're similar to pine trees in many ways. And you gotta leave green on the tree because if you completely take it back to just wood, you won't get no back budding whatsoever. The tree will just completely die. It's like a pine tree or a cypress in that way. You gotta leave some green. Now these are alright. I'll just pinch them because they really ain't doing no harm. They'll just be kind of natural branches within the forest. Okay, and that fell somewhere, but that's fine. I'm gonna have to clean the landscape up anyways. Alright, I'll be right back when I get this tree trimmed up. Okay, now this tree is completely trimmed up. Oh, always something I miss, man. Good thing I overlook my trees. So, be right back. Okay, now after checking my main trees, they are trimmed up now. Alright, so now gotta do a bit of cleaning on the lower trees. You can see down here where there is some foliage that has kind of decayed away, which is alright. Whenever I bring them out here, they tend to get a little scorched, a little sunburnt, but that's okay. That it tends to happen with these Aurelias. These guys and the Norfolk Island pines do really well together. It's kind of like a natural forest, which is really good that they do good together. So, just kind of cleaning out all the dead foliage. This one's kind of growing a bit shrubby. Might have to, I probably am gonna have to prune that. I tried growing these as cuttings too, and it just, I don't know, it just hasn't worked out. But the combination has worked out. Love the combination. Can't keep them alive as houseplants, but I can keep them alive as bonsais. Go figure, me. Okay, so now we gotta look at our other trees over here. Yeah, of course, as they mature, I might take more and more branches off until I get some branching on the top. which is fine. I just really want them to be kind of like understory trees compared to the giant um, Norfolk Island pines. At least they're supposed to be giant. I'm trying to find a little dinosaur that'll work just well for this forest, but I can't seem to find any little dinosaurs that are in scale. Now, I did have some that, worked, but they just weren't historically accurate to the actual dinosaurs. They were like the old 80s dinosaurs or something like that. I don't know, they just didn't really seem to work. Yeah, somebody on Facebook asked me what these were, and at one point in time, I had no clue what they actually were. And spiderweb, I guess you can count that as one of the wildlife, little bits of wildlife in here. But I had no clue what they were originally, but now I do. See, since they grow naturally as a shrub, you gotta keep them in order, and you do gotta prune them. So, like down here, we got a little bit of what looks like a node trying to grow here. We'll have to trim him off because we want that bark. That's what we really want. And then we got one little baby right here wanting to grow, so we'll have to trim him back too. Little baby's right there, so here we go, getting right in there, maybe, and he's gone. Because again, I just really, really want the tree. I'm gonna have to get in there a little bit better. Okay, I am back, and I got it. Now you can actually see the trunk of what is supposed to be the tree. Now they do make excellent bonsai. You can wire them, and I guess you can root prune them. So if you're ever interested, that's one way of doing it, I guess. Ooh, a bit of a hiccup there. Excuse me. Looking around on my other trees, trying to get all the dead foliage out of what I can. So here we kind of got a multi-trunk, which be alright, but I don't usually see ginkgos as multi-trunk, so guess I'm gonna have to come in here, prune, take that away. Might try to make them into cuttings again, see how that works for me. Then we'll move it over here. Got one right there. Don't need it. We'll get rid of it. There that goes. Now I'm down to kind of a double trunk. So we'll chop this guy off. Don't need him. And then we got this one right here as a trunk. Don't need him either. You don't need that guy as a trunk. So come in here and prune it just like that. See if I can get in there a bit better. That should be good enough. Might try to come in like that. There we go. Because the goal is not to cut down the little tree. It's the last thing I want to do. Now we're kind of stuck with a triple trunk with some dead foliage. You can see it was so full that I really wasn't even getting any light in there really. So last and not least, we'll trim this guy off right here. Be back because I gotta clean that up nice and carefully. Okay, so now that little guy, who is supposed to be a ginkgo, is trimmed up. I don't mind the double trunk look. It looks a little bambooish right now, but it won't look like that forever. It will bud. And then we got one down here that's growing. You can see right there. I don't need that. So again, I'm gonna have to get right in there and do some precision work. So I'll be right back. Okay, I am back, and that has that trimmed up nicely now. So now you can see a bit of trunk. Alright, now let's look over to my bigger trees up in the front here. Trash can scares me. So we got my main tree here with a lot of lower foliage. For now, I might take that one off right down there. So, I'm gonna do it. And that clears that up nicely. You can see more of the woody trunk. Now, the wood takes time to develop. Whenever I was actually growing these, I did not know that they grew a woody trunk on them, actually. So when I found that out, you could just kind of imagine how how amazed I probably was on that. I was very, very impressed. That's fine right there. He's fine for now, but he's getting really tall, so he might need a cut back eventually. And him, got some yellow leaves right in there. Kind of trim up the bottom foliage so we can see the trunk. And that looks better. Clean up the landscape a bit. If you're wondering what those little blue pellets are, that's slow release fertilizer. Alright, be back. I'll gather up all the foliage that we trimmed off today. Alright, and here's the amount of foliage we trimmed off. It's amazing. My foot for reference. Quite a bit of foliage for such a small forest. But, and then of course we have this here, not including the potential cuttings. But that's all I have for you today. If you guys like this video, of course you know what to do. I hope you guys have a good rest of the day.